Okay, and we can start. So with me here, I do have a presentation, record keeping for farmers. We're going to be going through a few slides, and as we move forward, the webinar essentially is meant to be more of practical oriented, so that we can be able to see in real life how we can keep and maintain these records. We're going to look at several things that have been also suggested by our followers who filled in a Kobo tool and answered a few questions, which also included an area where they could remark on where they wanted to be taught on about the webinar. So let me quickly share that part of the screen, and then we're going to start. You can also be posting your questions if you do have any questions regarding this topic. Right, nice, perfect. So we're going to move on. So as an introductory, record keeping means essentially writing down what happens in your farm, what you do, um, what you use, what you spend, and what you earn. Basically keeping a track of every activity. So these ones are just sample or samples of things that you can or maybe do or relatively on a daily basis, but it's usually advisable to keep for record keeping to make sense is just to record each and every activity that you do. It uses simple tools. You can use a notebook or a diary. We have nowadays we have phone apps that can be able to maintain. We're going to look at some of them, and then also for it to make a lot of sense is that you should be very consistent in terms of keeping your record, and the records should be very, very, very clear. Why it matters, it helps you remember, and you can be able to compare seasons and plan better. Plan better for your garden, plan better for your farm. Essentially, you do not have to really guess because if you do have the records, receipts, you'll be able to remember. You won't struggle a lot. Some of the reasons why we keep records, or why record keeping is very important, is that it helps you plan for seasons and budgets. Budget inputs matter. So if you are working with seeds, fertilizer, this one is organic fertilizer. Feeds, if you do have livestock, that it will be able to plan for you to be able to plan for them. It also tracks on profits and reduce waste. So you will see which crop or which livestock pay, so that you can make more informed decision. Access to finance. Now, when you have good records, you can be able to build trust with circles, with banks. If you are an NGO, you'll be able to build a very big trust with your donors. And a good record keeping that is consistent and that has daily updates will be able to actually make this trust very strong, and you're going to become a very trustworthy person because now you have data, you have actual data in your garden. Uh, with me here is an example of an analyzed record or data, just a simple one. This one essentially shows bed numbers and the yields. So you can see we have the yield sales that are marked in blue, and we have the expenses that are marked in red. So when you look closely at this diagram, you'll be able to see that you can see here over here that we have 400 as yield sales, we have 300 as expenses, which brings about a profit margin of 100. This one is just a sample. We have another one here that has yield sales of 600 and an expense of 600. This one is equal. which is not profitable. If you're making exactly what you inputted, it's not profitable. We have also this one that the yield sales are a bit lower, which are at 400, and then the expenses which are at 500, which shows you very clearly that you're spending more compared to what you're getting, which is not good. So when you have such a chart or when you have such an analyzed data from your records, it helps you to make better and informed decision. Now, from here moving forward, you'll be able to ask yourself, what do you need to do so that you can improve? Do you need to reduce on the inputs because now they're not giving you the correct outputs in terms of profitability? Do you need to change? So such informed decisions will come from good records. Production records. In terms of these ones are types of records that you can keep. So these ones are example. It's not to mean that this one is a standardized types of reports that you can keep. So we have production. So you can, in terms of productions, you can have a record, and you remember that you're going to do all this practically as we move on. So we have like a production records where you have plant dates, you have variety used, you have input applied, and the harvest. So based on this, of course, I'm going to show you practically how you can create a table with these entities or with these fields, both manual in terms of having it on a book or a diary, or also having it on digital tools like Excel and another mobile application like Kobo Toolbox that you can be able to input this data. So this one is a very good example. So we can see here we have plant dates. It's very essential to have dates. You have varieties used. So this one is in terms of maybe the seeds, maybe is it a maize of number nane that you use? Is it the red maize? The inputs applied. So this one can be placed in terms of kgs. If you are working with compost manure, so you can input that, you can write that you used like five kgs of compost, or if you are working with buckets, like 3 buckets, and then you can be able to compare that with the harvest later on as you move on. We also have labor records, work days, task completed, wages paid, and productivity. In terms of this one is if you do have workers on the ground, workers on the field, you can also have this as a type of record. So you can create a sheet of the laborers. You put in the workers' days. They come into work for 3 days, 1 day, 2 days. Task completed. So this one can either be a check. You can tick that the task that you employed them to do, it was done. You can tick. Wages paid. This one can be in amount or Kenyan money. So this one will also fall later as you move on into your expenses records. So in terms of money, how much money did you pay them? And then productivity. So this one can be like a note. Was the work productive? Was it well done? Of course, now this one also falls way much further ahead when now you come to make a decision to whether you're going to give this person some work later in future. We also have financial records. So these ones are records of money. If you're doing an agribusiness, if you're also selling surplus from your garden, once you have satisfied your needs in terms of feeding, do you have surplus? So if you do have surplus, you can also have financial records. And this some of the fields that you can include are like the sales, the expenses that you incurred, whether you took a loan for that, so that you can deduct them, the receipts. If you do have receipts, maybe you can attach receipts, and also payment tracking. So Is this something that was paid? Is it pending payment? Something like that. Environmental. So this one is like these ones are environment things that they are within our ecosystem. So did we have rainfall? So this one is can be added into a huger field where you can have rainfall records, pests and diseases, if you incurred any soil tests, if you did some soil tests, you can attach some reports. If you did that professionally and had another organization doing it for you, water use, and then generally the weather. So we're going to look um, at these examples a bit later when you try to do the when we try to do the practicals. Traditional versus the digital record keeping. So we do have some traditional record keeping methods, and we have digital record keeping methods that are available. So when you talk about the traditional, the pros, it is low cost, it's affordable to all farmers. It works without electricity or internet, easy to start, minimal training needed. So this one is very, very efficient in terms of remote areas where people do not have access to the internet, they do not have access to the smartphone or computers. It doesn't mean that they should have excuses as to why they're not doing record keeping. So when you do have this, for example, a notebook, a ledger, a diary, um, can be very good in terms of keeping your own records. When it comes to the disadvantages or cons of using the traditional methods, it's that we see that they can be damaged, lost, or destroyed. Yeah, so you can imagine if you did have your records from, say, 5 years back, and then you lost your notebook or your diary, um, that one can be very tragic. You will lose all your records at once. Difficult to analyze trends over time. So it's very difficult to go back again 5 years back to see what you wrote and analyze them and put them in one sheet. Probably you can do an overview, but having them in one page is going to be difficult. It's not saying that it's impossible, but it's going to be very difficult. It's hard to share this with buyers or lenders. So if, again, if, for example, you are an NGO, it's very difficult for you to share your records. If you do keep them, hard to share them. If you keep them in very huge hard copy files or in notebooks, but when you have a digital method, you can be able to share that easily. We're not saying that is impossible. It's just that it's difficult. It's very hard to share, very huge, it's very bulky. When we move again now to the digital apps, digital, so we have for the digital, we have apps, we have Excel, we have Kobo Toolbox. We're going to look at Excel and Kobo Toolbox for this webinar in terms of the digital tools that you can be able to do to work with. They have some pros. They have automatic backups, so that prevents data loss. So if you do have something online, for example, if you're using an Excel sheet, um, for example, in Google, that one is going to be automatically backed up to the cloud. So that one prevents data loss on every point. It's very quick to summarize. You can be able to have charts. We have seen an example as we were going through the slides. You can be able to see charts. You can be able to do reports. It's very easy to share with buyers and lenders or banks. So if you do want to seek like a loan for a big project, it's very easy to share your records from way back, compared to the traditional methods. When you talk about the cons, you require a smartphone or a computer. So that's like the basic need. So for you to do digital record keeping, you will need as a requirement to have a smartphone or a computer as the basic need. You need power and sometimes internet. So some digital tools require internet, especially if you want automatic backups. That one will, of course, automatically require for you to have internet connection. And then lastly, it requires training, or you should have digital skills for you to manage to work with these tools. So some of them are very good, very efficient, but they're a bit technical. Like for example, the one that we are going to work with today, which is called Kobo Toolbox. It's a bit technical, but it's very good for its capabilities and how it works. We're going to see that in a bit. Bookkeeping basics. So this one is just the basic ground for doing bookkeeping. So this one is I've shown one example which you can do very easily, very simple. This one can be done even on a notebook. So record income. So for example, if you're working with livestock, you can, or crops, sales of crops, milk, eggs, even livestock themselves. Record the expenses if you have seeds, if you have organic fertilizer in your garden, if you paid a vet, if you had laborers, if you had transport, combine all those expenses into one, and then do a simple mathematic of profit. So profit, we say it's profit is income minus expenses, which of course will be in your currency. So for example, here we have a good example. So we have eggs and chicken sales for our livestock. It brought about 120 shillings. And then we have some expenses that you incurred. So for example, here we had an expense of feeds, medicine, and labor, which totaled to 85 shillings. Then a simple profit, which is that minus, which is 120 minus 85 to give it 35. So these ones are not actual figure. I was just trying to demonstrate how you can put in a record, for example, for a month of how your sales or your livestock did. So we had that, and that's what I have shown over there. We have some digital trends and opportunities that are upcoming. So, for example, the one that we're going to focus today, which is data collection. It's Kobo Toolbox or Kobo Collect. You require, it creates for you forms on phone, and you can be able to work with it offline. So this one is actually the biggest advantage of using such a tool. So as I began, I said that Kobo Toolbox is such a powerful tool when it comes to data collection or when it comes to creating of forms. So with some few examples that I've shown you, and then as we move forward, as we do it practically, you're going to see how you can create a form using your computer, if you do have access to a computer, or yeah, but generally, if you do have access, you can be able to find a way. And then this form is going to be sent to your mobile phone, and you can use the Kobo Toolbox app or the Kobo Collect app. That you can be able to go to the field, fill in some records, not necessarily for you to have the internet. The records will be uploaded once you are connected to the internet at any point that you get access to the internet. And then later you can download it as an Excel report and do your analysis. Sorry, so we have analysis or charts. So this one is another trend. So some analysis comes in terms of charts, bar graph, pie charts, all sorts of graphs. So we have Excel. Excel is the most common one, and it's the one that is mostly known by so many people. And this one will create for you dashboard reports, and you can be able to do visualization. So Excel is a very good example. And we have another one that is called Power BI. This one is a bit advanced, but Excel will do the job. We have a dairy or poultry app. I'm not quite sure. I've not yet gone through this, but from my research, I found out that there is one. So this one enables you to do daily milk, egg logs, feed conservation tracking. conversion tracking, sorry. You can do backups. So you can back up your data on cloud storage, or you can do with a memory card or an SD card. And these ones can be shared via WhatsApp or WhatsApp PDF with the buyers. We are almost done with these slides. So there are just a few slides. I say that today's webinar will be more practical oriented. And I can see that we have some people who have joined us on Zoom. We do have another audience on Facebook. Yeah, so we're going to give them a chance to just say hi later. So we have some do's and don'ts of record keeping. So these ones are just a few of them, samples. So what you need to do is that you need to write entries on the same day. Use dates and units. So do not, if you do have a structured record keeping, say form, if you have one form either written on a notebook or on an app, it's very important to do the record entries on the same day. Do not postpone or do not say that you're going to do them later. Then keep your farm and personal money separate. So do not mix. It's important to do that. So do not mix your finances so that you can be able to have accurate data. And if it's possible, store the receipts. And then also review records weekly or monthly and back them up if they're not backed them up, if they're not backed up. So for example, if you're working with Kobo and you had some data that is pending to be uploaded online, you should do them maybe weekly or monthly. The don'ts: do not guess numbers or wait till the season ends to write. Do not leave blank spaces or skip. If you have already created a form, do not say leave a blank space or skip some details. So as I finish these slides, it's important for you to start your record keeping journey today, immediately once we are done with this webinar. Pick up one or two records, either production and sales, and be consistent. You can just start slowly and build your way up. Choose your tool, either use a notebook or a simple app that you will use daily, one that you're going to select. I'm going to show you some very good apps that you can use. Set a 15 minutes weekly review habit. So review your work every, say, 15 minutes a week, 15 minutes a day. So just spare a few minutes for you from your time to just review your progress of your work and see how it's all going. And yeah, so that was my simple slide. I can be able to see we have Lucy Wamboi and Emma Gatwir. Gatwirwa. So you guys can say hi as we wait to progress to the practical session where we're going to see some digital tools of record keeping. Maybe you can say hi and where you're joining us from. You can start with Lucy. Hi, Lucy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very fine. Where are you joining us from?
Yes. I am Lucy. I'm joining you from Nakuru.
Oh, very nice. Nice to have you, Lucy.
Thank you.
Emma, probably you can say hi.
So hi, good
Hi.
morning.
Good morning.
Uh, I'm joining from Seychelles, Limuru.
Ah, nice to have you. Okay, so
Thank you.
okay, thank you too. So we have also an online audience on Facebook. Probably if you do have any questions, you can also be sharing your questions on the chat, writing any question that you have as we progress on. Okay. So I'm going to introduce you to something over here, just a minute. Okay. Um, so we have some digital tools that are able to do the tasks that we have over here. So I wanted us to start off with a simple record. I'm going to show you how you can create a form. We're going to fill in the form together, and then we are going to do some analysis together as we progress on. Okay, so I have a very good example over here. It's for production records. Let me just share my screen in a bit. Okay. Right. Maybe before I progress so far, let me share that part of the screen. Okay. All right. Okay. So I want to introduce to you a tool that it's one of the digital tools that is highly getting a lot of participants or people who are joining on the movement of using Kobo, which is a very amazing tool actually. So this is just from what you Google or from what you get from the web. This is Kobo Toolbox. Says that it's a data collection, management, and visualization platform used globally to accelerate positive social change. So this one is a very good tool that you can use in terms of getting uh, data or records maintained, number one, and well arranged on your account. So essentially what you need moving forward, you're going to create one form and we're going to do some analysis with it and see how we're going to get or what we're going to get laterwards. But essentially what you need to do is go to this page. It's called kobotoolbox.org. I'm going to paste that on the chat so that maybe you can, if you do not get a chance right now, you can view it later. I can see Ratemo has also joined in. Hi, Ratemo.
Hi, sorry I'm late.
No, don't worry. We are looking on the practical ways to do some record keeping, and we are looking on some tools.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm following.
Okay. So I've just pasted in that link. You can look at it. So it's very easy for you to create an account and get started. So once you click on that, you're going to be presented with this page. So I'm going to get started over here for free. And it's good for you to use the global. There are two types of accounts. There's a global Kobo Toolbox server, which most people use. And then there is another one for the European Union. So it's advisable to have this account. Some of you might have the account, so you do not need to really create an account. But if you do not have an account, when you click on the create an account, you're going to be presented with a very simple form. So you need to fill in your username, your full name, create a good username. That should be in lowercase and one word. Use an email address. You can use your organizational email address or you can use your personal email address. Select your country, select a sector, organization type. If you do not want to receive occasional updates, not a requirement that you check that box, but you have to agree to the terms and conditions. And then create a strong password, confirm the password, and then create an account. But if you do have an account, you're just going to log in. So I already have an account, so I'm just going to log in. So I've told you that this one is a very good tool because when you have the app, you can be able to work with it offline. Okay, so I've just clicked on new. I want to create a new form over here. So my form, I'm going to put in like production. Let me see, production records. Let me make it bigger. So I'm going to create a new form and call it production records. It's not a requirement for you to have a description. You can leave that blank, or if you do have a description, you can put in a description. Select the sector. So there are so many sectors over here, but if you do not see one that will fall in line with what you have, you can just click on other, and then just need to select your country. So my country is Kenya. Then I'm going to create the project. And you're going to be presented with this simple form. So you just need to add in the fields or what you need to appear as the heading. So for this example, we are going to create a very simple form. It's a production form. And we have, for example, planting dates. I've just clicked on there. So when you click on this plus sign over here, you're going to be presented with a box where you can put in your fields. So I'm going to start with planting dates. So I've told you for a good record, it's very good. It's very important to have dates when you're doing record keeping. So I'm going to start with planting dates, and then I'm going to select your question type. So mine is date, like that. I'm going to also add in another one. So if I'm using seed, so I'm going to add in seed varieties used. So if it's, for example, maize seeds, you can put in the varieties of maize that you used. So later as you do your analysis, you can see how that type of variety performed. So I've selected it as text. And then something else, we can put inputs applied. So this one can be in terms of organic fertilizer. Organic fertilizer. So that you can see how that helps. And this one I'm going to also put of question types text. I think someone is talking. Okay. All right. And then another thing that I can add on over here is the harvest. Let me add in the harvest, like so. Add question. And then this one I'm going to select as text. Then I'm going to save my form. So when you look at your form, when I preview on my form, so this one there, for you to create a form, you can use your mobile phone to create a form, or you can use your computer. So it's advisable to use a computer for your form, for creating a form, because it's much easier. But this one is a simple record, very simple one, very basic, that you can start with. So we have the planting dates, we have the seed varieties used, we have the inputs applied, and then we have the harvest. These ones can also be specified further. For example, if for the inputs applied, they can be
Ray,
in
please
terms of.
send that into the classes. Okay, thank you. Yeah, brilliant.
Okay. So I have someone who is not muted.
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. So that's my simple form. I hope everyone has gotten on how I've gone. If you're lost anywhere, you can raise your hand or unmute and ask your question. But again, I've said that we have started on a basic way and we are looking at one tool. This tool is called Kobo. And this one is very good because you can work with it offline with your mobile phone. Or if you're using a tablet, you can also be able to work with it. So this is what I have, and I have clicked on preview to see what's happening or to see how the form will look like. And we have said that this one is one of the digital tools. So we also have some traditional methods. So some people would also opt to create this on a notebook or a diary. You can create a very simple table with the production dates, planting dates, seed varieties used, inputs applied, and the harvest. The harvest can be in terms of the quantity of harvest that you harvested. Let me put that quantity of harvest like that. So I'm going to close this form. Once you have saved everything, you won't see a star. So when you have a starlet over here, it means that your work is not saved. But mine is already saved, fully updated. So I'm going to just close this. And I'm going to deploy my form. So my form is deployed. Not sure why it's saying the link is missing. Let me just refresh my page. Kindly, if you could be able to mute unless you have a question. Okay. So that's what I have. I have deployed my form, and this one can be shared. It's not a really that you have to use it on your own. You can be able to share it with maybe your farm manager so that they can be able to fill in the form. Or if you're working it on your own, again, you can use it on your mobile phone or on your computer. So maybe we can fill in. You can fill in and see how the data will look, and see how later we can analyze it. So we have the planting date over here. So this is how the form will look once you deploy it. Let me place, let's say like if I planted on August the 7th, and I used cucumber maize, and then I used compost manure, and then say I have a quantity of harvest of like 6 bags, like that. So for you to have accurate data, maybe you can, during the planting dates, you can have a separate record of planting dates, because of course the planting dates will be different from the time that you harvest. And then later you can have like this production record where you can come and fill in when you planted, the seed varieties that you planted, what you applied, and what you have now harvested. And you click submit. Once I submit, it clears for me the form and I can fill in something else. Maybe on the same time, I also planted another type of maize that is red maize. And I also used composts, assuming that I used the same quantity of compost. Maybe I used 2 buckets for all the compost that I applied, and then the quantity of harvest that I got, say, is like 10 bags, like so. Then I'm going to submit. Let me put one last one, same date, and then say I use the seed variety of yellow maize. And then the input I used again also composed. And then the quantity that I got from that planting, say I had like 7 bags. Submit, like that. Once you have submitted all your records, I'm going to go back to my dashboard over here and click on the data, and you can see the data over here that is saved, like so. So we're going to ignore some of the things that come with Kobo, but what I want us to look at is this part of the report. And then you're going to notice that, okay, so there's one that I did not put the same planting date. Okay, but it's okay. You're going to notice that it gives you a very clean dashboard. So this one is just within Kobo itself. It gives you a clean dashboard of so this one's at the planting date. This one's are the seed varieties that you have used over time. This one's are the inputs that you have applied. And this one is the rate at which the performance that you have gotten from that harvest. But this one is just within the tool itself. You can move further to do a personal analysis, and that's what we intend to do. So I'm going to click on the downloads. I export this data and download it. So I'm going to click on the save. I'm just going to save it on my download folder, and I'm going to open it. So this is what you would do probably at the end of the season or at the end of the harvest. Let me just share that part of the screen so that you can see what that looks like. Again, as we move on, welcome to the people who are still joining in. In case you have any questions, you can post them on the chat as we progress. Let me share that part of the Excel record. Okay, not that one. Just a minute. Share. Okay. All right, let me stretch this out a bit. So we're going to delete these first rows so that we can just have what we inputted. I'm going to leave ID. I'm going to explain why. But this is what we had. So we had the planting date. We had the seed varieties used. We have the inputs applied. We have the quantity of harvest. And then we have the ID. I'm going to leave that ID as it is because it uniquely identifies each record. So the ID is created by Kobo itself. And then I'm going to remove that part written bags and put it over here. Quantity harvested in terms of bags. Like that. So from Kobo, from the tool that we have just looked at, you can be able to download your data over a period of time or your records over a period of time to Excel. And when it's on Excel, you can further move on to creating the visualizations or charts so that you can see your performance or performance at the end of the planting season or at the end of harvest, and do further analysis. So for example, like in this example that we have, so to make it a bit clear, I'm going to bold these headings over here on top over here. I'm going to make them bold so that they're a bit clear. And then I'm going to do a very simple analysis of comparing the the seed varieties and the quantity of bags that we harvested over that period of time. So for us to do a very clean analysis, so today I hope you guys were ready to learn, because I'm going to introduce you to so many tools at once in such a short period of time. But so these ones are just a sample, and you can fill in as many as you would want. But for this example, I'm going to use something that is called pivot table just within Excel, that is going to help us in terms of doing some chart analysis to these records that we have over here so far. So for us to have a pivot table, you have to create to convert this Excel into a table or into tabular form. So you just click, I'm going to be a bit slow so that you can all get it. You just click on any part, any field of make sure that any cell, can click on any part of your Excel, and then on your keyboard, you click Control and T, and then you click OK. So that one is going to create a table for you. So this one is in tabular form, and you can be able to do some analysis for it. So this one is like our main record. The reason as to why we use what we call the pivot tables in record keeping or in Excel analysis is that later, once you have so many records, you can be able to compress them into one dashboard, which will, of course, now enable you to make more informed decisions. So I'm going to create a pivot table. So pivot tables are very easy to create. Just need to click on Insert on your Excel. Then you're going to see pivot table. And then you leave everything as default. Everything, do not touch on anything. Just click OK. And you can be able to see the fields that you had. So we want to see from the seed varieties that we planted, how many bags did we get, or the quantity of bags harvested. That's what we want to see. So we want to check on this part written seed varieties. Don't know if you can be able to see that clearly. So it's a bit on the side. It's on your right hand side. So I'm going to click on the seed varieties used, and you can see the seed varieties that we have used, or the seed varieties that we recorded. We have cucumber maize, red maize, and the yellow maize. And then we want to know the quantity of bags that we harvested, like so. So right now, by default, once you check, when you're using pivot tables, it assigns for you where these fields should go. So these ones have been well assigned. So I have the seed varieties over here, and then I have so Excel has decided to do the summation for me of the quantity of bags that I've harvested. So right now I have a total of 23 bags of maize that I have harvested from 3 different varieties of maize. And I want to do a chart or a visual comparison of all this. And then you can see right now I have somewhere written row labels. So I want to quickly change that. I'm going to click on that heading called row labels. And then I'm going to do, I'm going to click on this design. If I go too fast, do not worry. You can feel free to stop me and ask me a question. And also this webinar, of course, is now recorded, so you can go back and review the recording. So again, I'm going to click on row label, and then I'm going to click on design on top over here. And you can see there's somewhere written report layouts. So I want to show it in table form or tabular form. So it changes that to seed varieties used and sum of quantity of bags harvested. And I've said I want to create a chart for this. So it can be any chart. It can be a bar chart. It can be a pie chart, any chart. So again, click on the area that you are interested or on any part of this pivot table. go to pivot table analyze, and then we want to look for pivot chart. Click on that, and you can select either pie charts, column charts, but I think a pie chart would be good. You can also use a bar chart, but a pie chart looks a bit better, or even a donut chart, either. So I'm going to use this donut chart. Over here, I'm going to reduce it like so. And I want to remove this.
Oh, good. Long time. You're looking well. Yeah, good, good.
Astrid, so do you have a question? Okay.
Sorry, no.
Okay. So I want to remove these buttons over here. So I'm going to right click on one of them and hide all field buttons on this chart so that I can remain with this clean chart from my record. And I want to change this title. So I want to double click on the name total and change it to, say, production records. For different maize varieties. Production record for different maize varieties, like so. And you can see from this simple chart that you can also add in the numbers over here. So I'm going to click on this and then click on this plus sign, and I want them to have chart labels. And you can see already the 7, 6, and 10 are showing up, but I want them to show in sorry. I want to just drag them outside so that they can be visible. Like so. So you can just drag them outside like that. And maybe you can also put them in terms of percentage. I'm going to right click, just change them over here, right click, and then say show values as percentage of the grant total, like so. So this one is in percentage, and make them a whole number. So the whole number is just on top over here. Okay. It's a bit weird. Or you can leave it, let's just leave them like that. So you can see that from this, you can see we have a very good key over here. So you can see the yellow maize, how they performed. We had a 30% performance from the yellow maize. We had 43 performance from the red maize. We had 26.09 performance from the cucumber maize. So this one is coming out from what you have collected using your form or using your Kobo form. After a period of time, you download this data and do a simple analysis. These ones can be attached for your personal reports or for your personal progress reports as you move on. And also, they can also be attached in terms of if you are looking for a loan from the circles or from the bank, or if you're an NGO working with farmers and you have such records, they can also be attached they can also be attached as part of your reports for people to see or for them to act as an evidence-based report. So that one was a simple one, and we have used Kobo itself, but you can also use just within Excel. Excel is also another powerful tool that you can use. Let me just go back to that slide. Okay. So this one is what we had: planting dates, seed varieties used, inputs applied, quantity of bags harvested. Then we left the ID, which was initially produced from the Kobo app. So I want to do the same, but this time on a different type of record, or a different type of form. Hello, I can hear someone speaking. Again, if you do have any question, you can feel free to raise your hand. Do we have any questions so far? Okay. Okay. So someone is asking, by submitting, to whom is it submitting to? Can I be able to access the data after submitting? Yes. Yes, you can be able, Lucy, yes, you can be able to access the data once you submit it. Let me just show you something. Just give me a minute to show you on how on the mobile app it looks like. Just a minute. So a Kobo toolbox, or the tool that we have looked at so far, comes in two ways. So there is the one that we have just seen, which is called Kobo toolbox. That one is a web version of Kobo. So you can use your mobile phone to actually create the form, and for you to create the form and also submit records. So I'm going to quickly go back to that side of the screen so that I can elaborate more, because Lucy has asked a very important question. Just a minute so that I can share that part of the screen. All right. So once you create the form, let me just go back to kobotoolbox.org. kobotoolbox.org. Okay, so once you have created this, you have gotten to this part, you have logged in. Kindly mute Julius. Let me just mute. Okay, so once you have logged in, let me just sign in to my account. Once you're logged into your account, once you have created everything and you're logged into your account, everything that you do will just be within your account. So you can be the one who is creating the form, and you can also be the one who is receiving the submission. Okay, so once you have created the form, this is the form that we created over here. So this is the form that we created. We had the planting date, seeds, varieties used, inputs applied, and the quantity of harvest that we had. So this one is the form that we have created. Once we have created and saved and deployed the form, so this part, once you save and close that part, you're going to see a deploy form. Right now, mine say redeploy because I already deployed it. It creates for you a link at the bottom over here. So you have to also say that allow submission of this form without username and password. So this one allows you to answer or even share this link to maybe your farm manager And again, I say that you can use it offline also. It's not a requirement that it's used online. You can use it offline, and once you get to an internet access point, you can submit your data. So you are the one who is going to receive the submissions. You're the one who is going to also see the link. Because as for me, who has created the form, and it has created the link for me, I can be able to open it and fill in the form myself. And once I submit, all the records will come here to this section called data. So I'm going to see everything that has been submitted on this section called data. And you're going to be tracking in real time how the data is coming in. If maybe someone else is filling in for you with whom you have shared a link with, you're going to see in the data as it comes in over here. So yeah, I hope I've answered your question, Lucy. Oh, sorry. Someone is saying that I was not sharing my screen. I thought I was sharing my screen. Thank you, Collins, for that alert. Sorry. So this is what I was saying. Once you check in or once you create the form, let me just go back to that. So this is the form that we had created, the planting dates, the seed varieties used, the inputs that are applied. And this one, again, this one is a very simple example that we have used. Maybe if you have a suggestion, you can, to make it interactive, you can unmute and give us a suggestion of a record you'd like us to look at. The quantity of harvest that you have gotten over time. And once you have done that, you click on save, you close on that form that you have created, and it's going to ask you to deploy. So right now it's telling me to redeploy because I've already deployed, but essentially it's going to ask you to deploy, you deploy, and then you can open the link if you're the one who is filling in the form, or you can copy and make sure that you have checked on this button that says anyone with a form can open it without a username and password, just in case someone else is filling in the form. And it's a very simple form, so they just need to fill in the data and click submit. And again, I've said it works both online and offline. So if you're offline, let's say for example, I'm answering this form and say I'm using like that, and then I'm going to also add in seed varieties of another maize, same with Zimoja, say also compost. And then the quantity harvested, say 3 buckets. And save it, save and close. You see, it says that records stored as draft. So this is to mean that if I am offline, everything that I write will be saved as draft. And once I get connected to the internet, I can be able to share all my drafts. Now all my drafts go here. You see here we have a 1, says records queued. So this is to mean that you are offline, you're not online. So you have some queued records and you can be able to recover them and upload them to the internet once you are connected to the internet. I hope that answers your question, Lucy. And thank you, Collins, for noting, Collins Mwashumbe, that I was offline. Sorry that I was not sharing my screen. Do you have any other question before we move on? We progress to another tool that we can use to do our record keeping. Okay, let me quickly go back to that. Yeah. I do not see any other question on the chat. Maybe you can progress to the next tool. Okay. So for the other tool that we are going to use, So when I started, I noted that I said that we're going to be mostly focusing on forms because forms are a better way of handling our records, or a very easy way of handling our records. We are focusing more on the digital tools, but this one can also be projected to the traditional methods where people are using notebooks or even hard-copied forms, and they can also be printed out. So on the next tool, let me just confirm that I'm sharing the correct screen. Yeah. Give me a minute. So the next tool that we are going to be talking about is what is called as Google Forms. So unfortunately for the Google Forms, they do not have an offline version. I've not heard of any, but they also have the Google Forms are also connected to what's called Google Sheets. So this is my browser. I'm using Google Chrome browser, which is, if you do have the Google Chrome, this one is the most recommended method, or the most recommended browser for working with the Google Forms. If you're using any other browser, it won't be as straightforward as the Google Chrome. But for creating Google Forms for your record keeping, it's advisable to have a Google form. I mean, Google Chrome browser. So on your empty, so this is what you get once you open Google Chrome, and there is a section on your right hand side where you have next to your profile. It's called Google Apps. So you can take advantage of these Google Apps. Then I'm going to go to going to click on the Google Apps, and I'm going to scroll down until I see Forms. So we have a form over here. So I'm going to click on Forms, like so. And once I'm on the Forms, this is what I'm going to be presented with. I'm going to click on Blank Form. And then again, you're going to be presented with this blank form. So Google Forms is also another very good way to do your record keeping. So I'm going to replace this untitled form to production records, like so. You can also give a form description if you would like to give a form description, but I'm going to leave mine as it is. And then right next to that, you're given another area where you can put in your questions or your fields. So we are going to use the same ones that we have used. So we're going to start with the planting dates. Planting dates, like that. And then for the planting dates, I'm going to give this one as dates. So you have an area to select your question type over here. Then you can select on the date. Once you're done with one question, you can add another question. So the next question was on seed varieties used. Varieties used. And I told you when I started that this one is not the standard way to do, like, for example, production record. So this one is just an example to set you off. So this one can be, can have more, can have less. You can be creative as you would want to be in terms of adding the fields or the questions. So seed varieties used. So this one I'm going to give it a question type of short answer. So it can be, you can be free to add in any of the seed varieties that you used. I'm going to add another question. So the other question was the inputs applied. So I'm going to write inputs applied. And this one can be many. It's not necessarily have to be one. So if you used compost, if you used, for example, some vermiliquid, vermicompost, you can specify what you used. And then again, this one, I'm going to give also a short answer. I'm going to add another question. So the other question was on harvest. Let me add that harvest like so. Oh, sorry. Harvests like so. And then I'm going to also make this one a short answer like so. And then you can see how here you have some required. You can also put them on so that the person who is answering, if you're not the one, they cannot skip, so that you do not have a challenge in terms of receiving the records. Again, put this one required. Once you're done with all your questions, you can publish. And this one is asking me, responder, anyone with a link. You can change that, or you can leave it as it is. So I'm going to just leave it as it is and click on publish. And it gives you a short link over here. So you can shorten the link. You can copy this one and send it. Copy. So maybe if you are, say you are using you're using a notebook, or if you're using physical forms, so this one can be printed out as physical forms so that the person who is responsible in keeping the records can fill in the physical forms. These physical forms can again now be brought in maybe to someone else who is able to fill in on a computer so that they can feed in the data on the computer. And then essentially we say the advantage of having it filled in on a computer or using the digital methods is that you're going to be having backups, and it's very easy to share your records once they are on the digital platforms. So I'm going to open that link that I've just copied, and you can see this is how it looks. So planting date, again, I'm going to select a date. Say, for example, this was planted on 8th of August. Let's say cucumber maize. The input applied. So this one I say used cold compost. Maybe also you are doing a research and you would love to compare these later to see how it worked. Say you harvested like 10 bags. 10 bags. Submit. And then you can also submit another response. Same, let's say I also planted on the same date, on the 8th of August. And this time I used, again, let's say like kilo maize. And on this one, I had an input application of, say, warm compost or hot compost. Hot compost. And I had a harvest of 5 bags. Submit another response. I'm going to say that still on the same date, I did on the 8th of August, I did red maize. And I say I had an input application of what is called like vermi compost. And then I had a harvest of say 7 bags, and then submit like that. So once the data has been submitted, so you're going to receive, you can see here, I already have 3 responses. So this one is on the backend, or for the person who created the form, is the one who is going to see this response. If you're the one who created the form, of course, you're going to see the response as they come in. So you can see this is how it looks. So this one is a bit different because it does not give us the dashboard, but I think you can see it. But anyway, you can link a sheet. You can see over here we have a button that is saying link to sheets. This one is like an Excel, and then select. So I'm going to create a new one. Just click on create a new one, and it's going to give you an Excel sheet or an Excel output. I hope you can see my Excel sheet. You can see the Excel sheets. So all the records that are going to be filled in are going to be presented over here on this Excel sheet from the questions that you had or from the form that you had created. Everything that you had asked is going to be presented on this simple Excel sheet over here. And again, there is an application that is called when you go to it's called Google Sheets. It's on the mobile phone. So that one also can be able to see, you can be able to see the data from that place if you link it. And again, you can also do this creating you can create the sheets or the forms using your mobile phone. It's not really a requirement for you to use a computer. You can also use a mobile phone or a mobile device to create this form. Another option, because now we are looking at the concern, or we are tackling the concern of backups, or how you're going to get this data later in future if you do not want it to get lost. If you are strictly wanting to use forms or what's called the physical forms or the diaries or the notebooks, or if you have a ledger, it's still okay. It's still a very good method of doing your record keeping. But now there's a concern that this one is not really sustainable because data might get lost or destroyed, and you would need to revisit these records later in life. What you can do, or another option that you have to do, is to create take pictures using your smartphone of the ledgers. Take the pictures of the ledgers of the notebooks, the records that you have. And this one can be saved on a Google Drive folder so that they can be reviewed later in life or later in future. And then that one also makes it easier for them to be shared out. Or you can choose to move on to this method that is called the digital methods. And then when we concluded, we say that it's very important. It's very important to pick at least one or two records for you to be very consistent. It's not a must that you have so many records at once. If you are starting it off, just pick one or two records. Choose your tool. Choose the best tool that you prefer. Do not skip into various tools. If you opt to use, say, the example that we have seen, like for the Kobo, stick to that. If you would want to use Google Forms, stick to the Google Forms. If you would want to use just purely Excel, stick to Excel. Just choose one of them. Do not jump into, say, using all of them at once. It might be confusing and it might be very difficult to track your records. And then, of course, set at least some few minutes on your schedules, maybe to review. And this one should be very frequent. Maybe on a weekly basis, you can set aside like 15 minutes to review your work and to see the trends, to see if you're doing everything right or everything is doing okay, so that you can also keep that consistency maintained. So I would love to welcome questions. If we do have questions from the audience on Zoom and also from the audience on Facebook. Let me just take a quick peek on Facebook to see if we have questions. So yeah, if you do have any question, feel free to raise your hand or to write on the comments. But essentially, I am done with what we wanted to, what essentially was for today's webinar. Do we have within our audience anyone with a question, any comments, or any challenges in terms of record keeping? If there is anyone facing any challenges in terms of record keeping, this is the time to ask your question or to point out your query. Do you have any questions from the audience? Maybe you can say where we are joined in from. I can see Amos Okora. Any questions? Emma, do you have any question? Okay. Oh, okay, I can see question. No questions from Amos. Thanks for the informative session. Okay, thank you, Amos. All right, so again, I said that this webinar is recorded. The recording will be on our Facebook channel for some time. Facebook has this new policy that they won't keep the recording for a very long time. So I think it will be there for like now till latest on Friday. So between today and Friday, you can review the recording on Facebook, but we are still going to repost the recording that I have. We're going to repost it. And then as you review, probably you might get some questions as you move forward. So that section will be open for any questions or feedback that you might want to post over there. So that one will be online. And yeah, we're going to stay connected in terms of if you do try out a record keeping strategy and maybe you face any challenge as you do that, probably you can reach out and we can see what we can do to maybe assist in terms of the technicalities. Okay, if we do not have any question, we can do that. So someone, okay, have a message from Julius. Thank you very much. This is an important webinar. We are also facing challenge on research because keeping records is not conducted well. Yeah, that's a very big concern in terms of research. So you do have what you know, but it's not recorded, which now comes in. It's very difficult to convince someone that this is what happens, but there is no fact check to that. So if you have good records, you can be able to prove it. Thank you so much. That's a very important thing to note, Julius. Thank you. Any other comments we have? I'm going to give out like 5 minutes. So we are done early from our schedule. As we were scheduled to do the webinar from 10 to 12, but it's still okay that we are done early. We started early off on time. Yeah, thank you. Can see some saying thank you, Kennedy. Thank you too for joining in. Okay, sawa sawa. So see you guys on our Facebook channel. See you online. In case you have any questions, you're going to follow that up. Unless we have anything, we can close it at that. Maybe you can unmute and say bye. Thank you for the reactions.
Bye.
Hi.
Bye bye, Kennedy. Thank you.
Thank you too. Okay, let's stop the live. Okay.